This is a card that the bank will essentially pay you to keep. It has a $395 annual fee and has $400 in credits per year. We all know what I'm talking about. It's the Capital One Venture X card. It's been out for about a year now, and today I'm going to be talking about whether it's still worth getting in 2023. How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Before we dive in, it would mean a lot to me if you can hit the like button down below, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This helps me with the YouTube algorithm to ensure that this video gets in front of as many people as possible, and I really appreciate your support. So let's talk first about why I'm making this video. There are plenty of Venture X videos out there that mention a whole lot of features, but I do want to touch upon this card because recently this card had a key benefit removed from it. So at the beginning of this year, Capital One removed the Priority Pass restaurants benefit from this card. And from the reaction of the credit card community, I saw a lot of people who were quite upset with this decision. There were people threatening to cancel their cards, they were threatening to dump Capital One altogether, and certainly I will be talking about that later in this video. But let's talk about the good stuff first. So in general, the Capital One Venture X is actually a pretty good non-category card. And the key thing to know is that it gets 2x miles on everything that you spend on. The other two categories is the 10x category that you get when you book hotels and rental cars through the travel portal, and the 5x category you get when you book flights through the travel portal. Another cool aspect about this card, or with Capital One in general, you can convert the cashback you receive from cashback cards like the Capital One Saver one into miles at about, I think, 1 cent per mile. And I've discussed this in previous videos, especially when I was talking about an alternative to airline cards. This honestly works pretty well if you spend a lot of money in the travel portal. However, the drawback is that you do kind of have to use the travel portal. One drawback of using the travel portal to book is you can't always use your status benefits from your hotel, and that might be a deal breaker for some. Usually for airline benefits, those things will carry over though. Also, this card does lack a travel category for outside the travel portal, so it kind of forces you into it if you want any sort of substantial rewards. But speaking of the travel portal, let's talk about the credits that you get. So every year you are given 10,000 Capital One miles. These Capital One miles could be transferred to travel partners, but most likely they're hoping that you'll use it in the travel portal. You'll also get a $300 credit to the travel portal. So in total you get $400 a year that you can spend in their travel portal. And so in order for this $395 card to be worth it, you are really tied to the travel portal and kind of discouraged from using outside travel portals or even booking through the hotel or airlines directly. And quite frankly, I think this is by design. I did make a speculation video a while back talking about how I think Capital One makes money off of this card, and it revolves around the fact that they're really pushing the travel portal on you and the fact that the travel portal could get them a good amount of commission at the end of the day. And I know from some people, they like to say, oh, I don't like to use credit card travel portals because they don't always get the best prices. And I do have to say you are correct to some degree. However, the Capital One travel portal does match prices with other travel sites. However, they will only match the price if it's a public price. That means that if this is a special price that you get either through your hotel status benefits or your frequent flyer program, they won't be able to match that for you. And honestly, you do have to call the number, so it might be a little bit inconvenient. I did take a look at the travel portal to price out a few trips, and I do have to say you might have to use this more often than you think. But I think the good thing is that this option is there for you. Another good aspect of the travel portal is that you get price drop protection. The Capital One price drop protection is a free service, and it refunds you the price difference of the cost of a flight after you book it. That's only if the Capital One travel portal tells you that it's a good time to book, then it automatically enrolls you in this program. That way, if they sort of give you bad advice and the price drops after you book it, they will refund you the difference. There's a little bit more nuance to it than what I just mentioned, so I do recommend you look at Capital One's terms and conditions for this price drop protection just to be sure. Capital One also didn't used to have travel partners, but now they do. They have a whole host of travel partners that can help you travel on any of the 3 major airline alliances for free. So you got Aeromexico from SkyTeam. From Star Alliance, you have things like Air Canada, Avianca, Singapore Airlines, Air Portugal, and Turkish Airlines. From Oneworld, you have British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Qantas, and Finnair. In addition to the airline travel partners, you also get 2 hotel travel partners, more geared towards, I think, the more budget traveler. You get the Wyndham Rewards program, which is kind of the budget hotels that have brands like La Quinta, Ramada, Days Inn, Super 8, and things like that. And through Wyndham Rewards, you do also get access to Caesars properties, so places like Caesars Palace, Harrah's, Flamingo, and other hotels like that, all in Las Vegas or all around the United States. Choice Privileges is another hotel chain that you can get access to through travel partners. This includes brands like Comfort Inn and Quality Inn. Both of those two hotels are actually pretty good for road trips and things like that. I know Wyndham, for example, has a really good rewards program and structure where it's all a fixed cost, and generally you can get at least 1 cent per point when you transfer over to Wyndham. So let's talk a little bit more about the benefits. I already mentioned that you get a $300 credit to the travel portal and $100 worth of miles. You also gain access to airport lounges through Capital One, so they are building their own airport lounges. They do have one in Dallas-Fort Worth right now, and more opening in the future. You also get access to Plaza Premium lounges and Priority Pass lounges, though with Priority Pass, again, the restaurants and the spas and the non-lounge experiences are now excluded from this card. A nice feature of this card, though, is that you get up to 4 authorized users that you can add for free, and each of those authorized users can get their own Priority Pass Select card. And so with that Priority Pass Select card, they can also go into lounges on their own. I believe they can take up to 2 guests with them as well. You also get a $100 credit to Global Entry or TSA PreCheck, same as the regular Capital One Venture. And then you also get extended warranty protection. It extends the manufacturer warranty for an additional year, as long as the manufacturer warranty is a year. You also get cell phone protection for your phone as well, and you get access to the Visa Infinite Concierge. And I cannot understate how good the Visa Infinite Concierge is to me. I've actually talked about this a little bit in my Chase Sapphire Reserve video. So if you want to see how the Visa Infinite Concierge helped plan my wedding, you can take a look at that video and see how useful something like that is. Now, with so many benefits that completely offset the annual fee, I think I and a lot of other people have really wondered whether this card is sustainable. When this card was released, it started with a 100,000 mile bonus. It has since shrunk to 75,000 miles, which is not at all surprising. I think, the 100,000 miles was just a promo to get, people that were sort of on the fence, kind of squinting with suspicion at this card, to just jump in and just grab the 100,000 mile bonus. Shrinking it to 75,000 is still pretty generous, quite honestly. And that's, again, not surprising for a brand new card. However, in December, we got some news that this card would be dropping the Priority Pass restaurants. And again, I did make a mention that the general reaction from the community was that of deep disappointment, and it generally seemed like this card had fallen out of the good graces of some people. And a change like this, that sort of downgrades the card, about a year after release, is something that really shook up confidence in this card. But here's what I think. I am not too personally surprised that things are being cut. I did get an opportunity on a recent trip to actually talk to an owner of one of these Priority Pass restaurants, and they say it's actually in their best interest to take Priority Passes. They actually make a lot of money off of Priority Pass visitors. And so from data points that I've gathered from both that one owner and from people coming in online, it seems to me that some restaurants have been allowing people to use their $28 more times than once by, I think, swiping the card multiple times. That money has to come from somewhere. And sure, it comes from Priority Pass, but it might make this card just more expensive. So maybe, I guess Priority Pass charges Visa and Capital One to use their services, and all that money ends up getting passed on to the credit card company, either Visa or Capital One. And with the 4 authorized users, that sort of makes the abuse of this a whole lot easier. So you get $28 per person for Priority Pass restaurants. So you can bring 1 guest on 1 Priority Pass Select membership. With each authorized user, you can bring, 2 more people. So you can feed, a family of 4 with just a single authorized user card. And this is sort of a thing that apparently has been abused. And so again, that doesn't surprise me. I don't believe it's a good move though, as it really shakes up consumer confidence. You can kind of look at a card like the Citi Prestige to see what a death spiral looks like. Basically, people lose confidence in the card, people stop getting the card, therefore people aren't using the card, which means the card doesn't make any money, which means benefits need to be cut because the company can't afford them, which makes more people lose confidence in the card, and so on and so forth. And I'm not gonna lie, when this card came out, I was one of those people that kind of squinted with suspicion and thought, man, these benefits look a little bit too good to be true. And I get the fact that the annual fee is offset by credits from the travel portal and they're hoping to make money off of that travel portal. And I get that the TSA pre-check thing is kind of not a huge expense because that's only once every 4 years. So perhaps that benefit isn't really gonna go away. One thing I can see happening to this card is either the 10,000 mile anniversary bonus is going away, and that's something that's also plausible because the 10,000 miles don't have to be spent in the travel portal. Maybe an intermediate position could be that 10,000 mile anniversary bonus could go away and they will bring in maybe a $400 travel portal credit and say like you have to use it in the travel portal. Because the thing with the anniversary bonus is that you could transfer those out to travel partners, and so Capital One won't be making any commissions off of that spending. So that 10,000 miles could be converted to $100. Or another thing is that maybe they'll just do away with that altogether. So at $395 with a $300 travel credit, it works out to an effective annual fee of $95, which is identical to that of the Capital One Venture Card, the regular Venture Card. Another thing that I was scared about is that they would raise the annual fee, so you'd have a $395 annual fee, it would be raised to $495. You would still have a $95 effective annual fee, again in line with the regular Venture Card and other competitors like the Chase Sapphire Preferred. But again, I think it might be too early for that. One thing that comes to mind is that perhaps Capital One is sort of testing the waters out a little bit. Removing the restaurant benefit off of Priority Pass may be inconsequential to a lot of people in terms of the core benefits that this card has to offer. They're sort of seeing how their community would react to something like that. And so, if the community didn't react at all, maybe they would take that as permission to remove more benefits. Or if the community reacted super negatively to it, they would see that as a sign that, okay, we can't take any more benefits away, or we even have to restore that benefit. Of course, I hope I'm wrong in general, and I hope this card is sustainable for Capital One. And I really hope that no further nerfs are required. I think competition is always good in this industry. Even though I don't have a Venture X myself, I think a lot of the benefits that I get with my Chase Sapphire Reserve come from the fact that the Venture X is there, knocking on its door, ready to take that podium position away from the Chase Sapphire Reserve. It's sort of eating away at its customer base, and Chase has to offer things like free Instacart or Instacart credits to sort of compete with what Capital One has to offer. Of course, even if some of the changes that I mentioned are implemented, it doesn't mean that this card will be uncompetitive. There are plenty of benefits that I mentioned earlier. There are plenty of benefits that I mentioned that this card does come with that will keep it competitive, and it honestly would still be a great card to have. Additionally, I don't want you guys to make any decisions about what might happen that will only make you lose out on great benefits that you have right now. And if they do make this card uncompetitive in the future, at least you still always have a downgrade path, right? You can always downgrade it all the way down to a Capital One, Venture One, or even a Quicksilver if you don't want to pay that annual fee anymore. And honestly, given that this card is brand new on the market, I think Capital One is all too aware that all of its card holders have this as one of their newest accounts. And of course, I'm going to make a video about canceling cards. But if you cancel a newer account, it's a lot less consequential to your credit score. And so people are a lot less hesitant to cancel newer accounts. And I think Capital One knows that. This is sort of in contrast to a company like American Express, where a lot of people have had their cards for decades now. And if they decided to make their cards uncompetitive, those people will sort of be in this bind where they have an annual fee card, but it's also an old account. And so they're kind of conflicted on whether they should just take the hit to their credit so they don't have to keep paying this annual fee. And it's for that reason that I don't think Capital One will change too many things too quickly. So if you're on the fence about getting this card, I honestly recommend you give it a try. You'll definitely get your money's worth, at least in the first year. But what do you think about all the topics I covered today? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like this, make sure you check out my channel using the link in the description down below. Until next time, I'm gonna go out there and get some free stuff.